Hello, Timmy Nafso here, Executive Vice President of FortisPay. We've had a few questions come in from various hotels about chargebacks and why they are losing chargebacks in the hotel space. So the first question involves specific loss due to fraud chargebacks. And the first question that I ask to anybody that lost a fraud chargeback is, did you actually utilize EMV, chip and pin, dip the chip at check-in time? And the answer to that determines whether or not you can win or lose a fraud chargeback. Really quickly taking you back in time, previous to EMV, chip and pin coming on, businesses had no protection against fraud. So if somebody came and committed fraud at your business, what would essentially happen is you would provide a bunch of paperwork and spend a lot of time trying to fight it, but ultimately the bank would put you in a lose situation because they want their cardholder to win because they are the judge and jury, the cardholder's bank, deciding on who wins and loses a fraud chargeback. So if their cardholder said it wasn't me and they saw several transactions that were stolen, their card was stolen or their card number was compromised, what ends up happening is the cardholder would win, the business would lose. Well, chip and pin created an additional layer of protection to hotels and businesses by saying if you have this EMV device, if you have this chip and pin device and you utilize it, you are protected from fraud chargeback, not from all chargebacks. And that's a misconception in the business that because you have chip and pin, you can't lose a chargeback. Not true. What's true is you should not lose a fraud chargeback. Now, just because you have chip and pin and somebody comes in and you go to dip the chip and it doesn't work and you have to key it, you now are no longer under the protection of the chip and pin chargeback fraud guidelines. So what you want to make sure of is that you actually do take that card and dip the card. When that same reservation is coming in through some type of form where the card cannot be present, you certainly want to make sure that you are getting the correct documentation. As an example, you want to make sure you get the driver's license front and back. You want to get a credit card authorization form sent into you. That way you're in a position where if there was a dispute, you can go ahead and submit that dispute with all the information that was collected saying this was not fraud, we collected all of the necessary data. The next thing is, why do I keep losing my no-shows? And to answer that question is there are very specific rules about no-shows and how no-shows work. A lot of folks believe that if you have a 7-day reservation and somebody doesn't show up, you can charge all 7 nights for that reservation, which is not true. Those folks would actually lose that chargeback. What the card brand rules state is you can charge for the first night and the rest actually fall off. And there are specific rules involved with actually charging for a no-show. So you actually want to pull that registration card, make sure that no-show is listed, put the card number that usually is actually automatically comes up with just the last 4 digits, of course, truncated to provide the evidence or the proof of the no-show. But in addition, if the card holder's name does not match the card holder actual card number, that's a tough battle. And what we find is there's no real verification for a hotel to make sure that that card holder name matches a card holder number, which poses a lot of problems. And it's actually a big vulnerability for us as hotel owners when we're fighting no-show chargebacks. What you hope is that the guest actually, understands the policy and has been clearly stated so that you can actually win that chargeback. The last type of chargeback question that came up is, why am I losing due to damages? And damages are very tricky because as hotels and businesses, we have a right to accept credit cards and payments and debit cards based on the type of business we are. And the card brands do not want to be judge and jury based on a value amount of damage when that really should be handled by the court system. So a lot of hotels do still charge the $250 non-smoking fee. They still charge $100 for a room cleanup fee, so on and so forth. Well, is that number at the discretion of the hotel? Who can judge the value or of damages that have actually occurred? And typically they want the court of law to make those decisions. So if we're charging something outside of in-room movies, phone calls, room service, resort fees, and amenities, those are considered the additional services, right? Or the incidental charges. If you get into charging for hotel damage, you're generally going to see that as a loss because they want you actually to take those folks to court. Always remember, no matter what happens here, we as hotel owners, as business owners, also have that last opportunity to actually prosecute somebody, to take them to court, to say, hey, look, this was not right what you did, that you had a room or a group that was coming in for 30 rooms for X amount of nights, and you disputed the charge even though you agreed contractually to what occurred here. So Visa and MasterCard are more loose with it, but don't forget the court system may actually look at that situation and make a decision in your favor. If you have any questions or comments, please comment below. Thanks for listening.